If I call to order the January 14, 2013 City of Joliet Pre-Council meeting.
We'll start with roll call. Mayor Durrani.
Here.
Councilwoman Barber.
Here.
Councilman Fisher.
Here.
Councilman Girl.
Here.
Councilman Hug.
Here.
Councilman Morris.
Here.
Councilman Odekirk.
Here.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Here.
Councilman Turk. Absent.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the first item on the agenda is a presentation by Dr. Deborah Daniels from Joliet Junior College regarding the City Center campus. Dr. Daniels?
Good afternoon, everyone, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
It's my pleasure to be here today to give you an update on our City Center campus. I have a few slides for you. This is the picture, the rendering of our new building. It is 6 stories, 96,000 square feet, and this is the picture that you have seen before. I wanted to share with you a few of the other sides of the building. You only get to see that one in the past. So here we go. This is the west elevation. You see 6 stories starts to take on a whole new meaning as we look at this. Here's the view from the northwest, and you can see the Renaissance Center on the right and how it relates to the building. As you remember, the building will house our culinary arts program, workforce development, workforce training, GED, and ESL training, as well as other adult education services. And here we are at the east elevation. The building is designed to have a lot of natural light. It's part of that is to be in line with our LEED certification, which is Leadership in Engineering Energy Design, that takes advantage of building construction materials to be efficient and to save on our natural resources. And so you see a lot of insulated glass to bring in natural light into the building. This is the view from the southeast. You see a large glass area down below. The first floor will house a restaurant for our culinary arts students. The north elevation. This is the site plan, just so that you can get oriented a little bit to it. Has the street outlines. You'll see a heavy black line down the center of the site plan drawing, and that indicates where the Renaissance Center and the new building come together. So you'll see that they're related to each other very closely. So the building on the right is the new building. The building diagram on the left is the existing Renaissance building. The Renaissance Center will stay intact because it's a historic building. It will be remodeled on the inside, very updated, given a facelift. It looks very dated right now. It needs new kitchens and those kinds of things to make sure that it works for us in a new environment. But basically, the historic features of the building will remain the same. This is a sort of sideways view, so you can get an idea of how the building relates to the Renaissance Center. You can see the Renaissance Center is on the left, and the 6-story building is on the right. And as you know, we have our groundbreaking ceremony is January 22nd. You've all received an invitation. I really encourage you to come. I hope to see you all there. We're looking forward at 4 p.m. at the Renaissance Center. If you have any questions, now's a great time.
I do. I believe we vacated the old alley between the 2 buildings a while back. Are you going to be able to go from this new building to the old building without going outside, or?
Yes,
You
they
are.
will be interior entrances
Okay.
between the 2 of them.
Okay.
And I wanted to mention, too, what a great partnership the city has been. We've worked very closely with Tom Thanis and his staff to make sure those details about the underground utilities and all of those things are easily managed, and so we really appreciate that.
We're happy to have you and looking forward to it. We have been.
Oh, absolutely, and we are too. We're very excited about this new building and what it means, not only to Joliet Junior College, but to Joliet City as well. And so we appreciate the great partnerships, and we're looking forward to getting going. Now, you may wonder, well, when are we going to start seeing some movement in the building? When are we going to see some dirt disturbed and those kinds of things? Well, although a lot of behind-the-scenes things are going on, you won't see any movement till late March or April because of once the bids are approved, which just went to our board for approval, it's 90 days to procure the steel. So that's the first step. So in that 90 days, you won't see much going on other than continued planning for the building.
Any other questions?
Mayor, what's your estimated, I know it's a little early, but your estimated completion time?
Well, and that's a very good question because the building's being built in phases. This is the core and shell. This is the outside of the building, even though we had to do a preliminary design of the inside so we know how to size the outside. All that's being built is the outside. And the inside, we're waiting for funding from the state. We are on the top of the priority list for capital development, but we have to have a appropriation bill carried first before any funds can be assigned to this project. So we're waiting. Hopefully that will happen this year, and then we can move forward. If we don't get an appropriated bill in the next year, we will have to make a decision on whether or not we're going to use our Plan B funds. We have funds set aside to continue the build-out, so it's not just going to sit there as an empty shell. We have our Plan B, but we are hoping that the state will come through because then we can use those Plan B funds for our other projects at the college. So,
Yeah, thank you.
so it'll
for-
be 3 years
Yeah.
at the most.
Thanks for your commitment to downtown Joliet and to the board. Really appreciate it. I know it's been a little bit of a long process, but it's well worth the wait. And thank you again to you and the board for hanging in there and having faith in downtown.
Thank you. We'll keep working on it, one step at a time.
Any other questions?
I just agree with Councilman Fisher. It's a great addition, so thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
it. Thank you.
And I hope to see you next Tuesday on the 22nd.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, there is an item that is related to the JJC project on the agenda today. It's Council Memo 14-13, and it's a request to award a contract for the replacement of a sewer main that is in Chicago Street that will serve the new building. The sewer main project would go from Cass Street to Webster Street. The sewer main that's there right now was constructed in 1900, right around 1900. So we've probably gotten pretty good use out of that investment. But we thought with the number of people that will be in the new facility that now is the time to replace that. Something we've been working on with Dr. Daniels' team and among many other things the city's been trying to do to get ready for this project. So big thanks to Dr. Daniels and her team. The Public Service Committee will actually review this proposed contract tomorrow morning at its meeting.
At the meeting, maybe, Mike, how come our engineers missed it so much? 61% higher, yeah. Yeah, thanks. Tom?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, if we could turn your attention to the beginning of the agenda. We don't have anything to move up today. First item would be the review of the minutes from the December 17th and December 18th meetings of last year, and then council committee reports. Following that, we would have the treasurer's report for November of 2012 for your review. Next item is council memo number 1-13, and that's the approval of a line of credit for the Joliet Public Library. This is something we did last year. Usually the library would get a line of credit from a local banking institution to cover shortfalls in revenues while they wait for the real estate tax distributions that usually come in June and in September. Because they haven't had to draw down on it recently, local banking institutions have not been extending the line of credit, and we've offered our cash reserve as a line of credit. It would be at an interest rate equal to the average return that we would normally receive on our investments. Last year, even though we did this, the library did not have to draw down on that line of credit. It would be in the amount of $2 million. We're recommending the same thing this year in anticipation of possible need for a drawdown. If they do need it, they will draw down and pay us back when tax revenue is paid to them. If they don't need it, then at least it was in place. Next item.
Questions?
Is
And
it
this
2
will
million,
actually
Tom?
be reviewed by the Finance Committee tomorrow at its meeting.
Was the line of credit for 2 million or half a million? I thought I read the memo half.
They used to do 2 million. I believe this one is for $500,000.
Half a million?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And Tom, to be clear too, I remember discussing this last year when we approved it. Well, they can't get their line of credit through the banks. There we go. While we can't get the line of credit through the banks, you know, and that's what made them do this, they'll actually be saving at least on the level of what our budget and their budget is, some pennies, some money on by going through us as the line of credit. So we're actually saving the taxpayers some money via the library district by helping them out this way. Am I correct?
You are correct. It does save some money, especially in the administrative costs that might be passed along to them by a bank.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Tom?
Next item, council memo number 2-13, a request to fill 3 police officer vacancies. We have 3 longtime police officers who will be retiring later this month. Chief Trafton has asked for the filling of those 3 vacancies. These are in addition to the 10 police officer positions that you authorized to be filled in December. Staff is recommending its approval.
Tom, how are they coming with the 10?
I'm not
You
sure.
know, Chief?
Trafton. I know he's had meetings with fire and police board members, and
We're basically done. I have our police and fire board meeting next week, and some of them have some commitments to finish up with their previous work, so we're going to allow them a couple weeks' notice, but we're ready to start hopefully as soon as next week. As soon as that meeting is completed, we can do our hiring. So, thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
I have a question, Mayor.
Sure.
Will you be using the same list to hire these other 3 officers?
Yes, we will.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Tom?
next item, council memo number 3-13, and that's a request to start the process for 5 special service area projects. These are road reconstruction projects following the same format that we've used for the last couple of decades. The roads to be reconstructed, Cottage Place from West Park to Wheeler, Jasper Street from Millboro to Wheeler. Special service area number 2 would be Hutchins from Elizabeth to Broadway. Number 3 would be Prairie from Western to Glenwood. Number 4 would be Miller from Second to Hickory Creek. And special service area number 5 would be Youngs from Jackson to Ohio. What we're asking you for authorization is to start the process, schedule public hearings on the 5 special service areas for March 5th at a regular city council meeting at 6:30 in the evening. Attached are the plats showing the parameters of the projects, who will be charged and how much they'll be charged. What's before you is about $850,000 worth of public works improvements, and the actual assessments that would be going to the property owners that are adjacent to the streets would be about $30,000. So it's a small percentage, but it does help defray some of the costs. We'll be following the same format for $300 per single-family owner-occupied residence. And same thing with duplexes if it's owner-occupied. It does go up a little bit if it's investment property or commercial property. And this will be reviewed by the Public Service Committee tomorrow morning at its meeting. Next item, 4-13 is an ordinance declaring certain properties as public nuisances. Pictures before you are for 1220 Hague, 808 Moran, and 1508 Marquette. Staff is recommending that you authorize us to proceed with the demolition process on those structures. Next item, 6-13 is a resolution accepting the dedication of utility and drainage easements for the Interstate Warehouse property. That's off of McDonough Street. Interstate Warehouse is a large company that expanded its operation at its Joliet property last year. It's at 2500 McDonough Street, and it's immediately adjacent to Caterpillar. Some looping was done for the water supply system to help with fire flow. What's before you is the acceptance of an easement for city facilities Staff is recommending its approval. Next item, 7-13, is a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement with the Illinois Commerce Commission. This goes back to our Woodruff Road project, the closing of Woodruff Road. We have been able to apply for and receive authorization for grants from the ICC and also from the Federal Highway Administration. From the ICC, we would receive a grant for closing the railroad crossing on Woodruff Road in the amount of $70,000, and from the FHA in the amount of $7,500. What's before you is an intergovernmental agreement that would affect the grants being awarded. These are incentives that are basically given to communities to encourage closing at-grade crossings. As you will probably recall, this is where we're working with the Canadian National Rail Company to build a new bypass road. That'll be awarded, the contract for that project will be awarded sometime this spring, and we hope to have it completed by September of this year. Very good project. The shooting range that was located on the property, I believe Jim is moved? Officially moved? Yes. It is officially moved. So the DOC employees and some of the others who used to shoot at the property on Woodruff Road are now relocated to the Stateville new shooting range that we helped them construct. So very good project, all funded by the Canadian National Rail Company. We have a grant of $2.9 million from the CN to cover all of the costs. We believe everything that's before us will be covered by the grant completely. Next item, 8-13, is a resolution authorizing a application for a capital assistance grant under the IDOT program. This goes back to our transportation center project. You may recall Mr. Kwasniewski, the chairman of the PACE Bus Board, came before you a couple of months ago to announce the award of a grant in the amount of $1.7 million from PACE to the city of Joliet to help with the costs of creating the new transportation center complex, otherwise known as Gateway Center. The PACE bus facility will be substantially upgraded. A new bus facility will be built. A 13-bay turnaround will be constructed. The $1.7 million is a contribution from PACE for that. IDOT has asked us to amend the original agreement, the grant agreement that was entered into by the city 2 years ago with IDOT. What's before you is a resolution authorizing us to do that. Next item, regular payroll for December 21st, 2012. And that'll be reviewed by the Finance Committee, as well as the next two items, the Treasurer's disbursements for December of 2012 and the regular claims for 2012. The remaining items are award of contracts and change orders that'll be reviewed by the Public Service Committee tomorrow morning at 7:15 a.m. In the Planning Conference Room, I believe. Is that where you're going to continue to meet? Yes. Okay, Planning Conference Room at 7:15 tomorrow morning, and then they'll be reporting back on those items tomorrow. And there's also some items in here pertaining to the police and fire departments. The Public Safety Committee will be meeting tomorrow at 6 p.m., right before the City Council meeting to review those items. And Finance Committee will be meeting at 5:30 tomorrow to review the finance matters. That concludes the presentation of the agenda. Unless you have any questions on any of the agenda items, we do have citizens to be heard. The first person signed up to speak is Tracy Riola regarding customer service wait time.
She here? Tracy here?
Not sure. If she comes in, we'll go back to her
Okay.
then. Next, Mr. Webb indicated he would not be available today. Next person, Dama Calderon from Romeoville regarding the detention center.
Dama, while you're coming up here, give your name and address, and also we have a 3-minute limit to comments, if you will. Is that on? There you go. By the way, this don't count for your 3 minutes.
How did it work for Daniels?
Good afternoon to everyone. I want to go ahead and thank everyone for being here and taking your time to listen. I am a resident of Romeoville. My name is Dama Calderon, and my address is 340 Macon Avenue, Romeoville, Illinois, 60446. And the reason that I'm speaking here is because I believe that there shouldn't be a need to go ahead and construct a detention for immigration center. I truly believe that the funds that would be going into the detention or creating other jobs would be better funded. It could be to create charter schools, which are public schools, to have better education for the children, especially since Dr. Daniels did mention that about education and the Renaissance. I am a student at Joliet Junior College. I used to be a former student trustee, but due to certain things that I needed to iron, I wasn't able to go ahead and continue. Another reason is because it's going to definitely go ahead and pull families apart. There could be Montessori schools as well. There could be other jobs created. There could be a creek created for medical center, especially having Silver Cross Hospital at Joliet downtown. There could be taking away the images for Joliet instead of being known as a prison. Doing the best, especially when it comes to education again, for having international students, which I know that Chinese are actually looking to go ahead and put their funds into Joliet. And that could create more tourists, which means it will create more revenue to Joliet. And I would like to go ahead and bring Father Lesher so that he could go ahead and speak a few things, if that's okay.
He's not on the list. We'd have to make a motion to allow
So
him to
moved.
speak.
I'll make a
Is
motion.
there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Ayes have it. Father?
I talked to you the end of November, and then I sent you also a memo that 75% of the people who will be locked up in this facility are just law-abiding citizens like you and me that simply are here illegally, undocumented. And I gave you the documentation. The more I thought about this, the more I prayed about this, the issue is not CCA. The issue is not the Corrections Corporation of America. You can do your own homework on that one. That's a mixed bag, okay? The issue is if you build a prison, if you build this detention facility in this community, you will tear the fabric of this community. Of the 148,000 citizens today, we don't know how many are Hispanic, okay? In the 2010 census, 44,000 came up. We know there are more than that. Of the 50,000, at a minimum, 50% are undocumented. At a minimum. They cut our grass, they wash our dishes, they work in our warehouses, they pay taxes, etc. They're buying homes, they're renovating the east side. If you build this prison, what you're going to say to them, and to all of us, really, this is not a Hispanic issue. This is a Joliet citizen issue, black, white, and brown. You're going to say that money is more important than their well-being, and that a few jobs, lousy paying jobs, you're going to find out, are more important than their well-being and their peace of mind. That's the issue. You love this community as much as I do. And if you build this prison, you're going to destroy this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Father.
Another person to speak on the detention center, Charlotte Drugan, who was here previously to talk about the detention center, and I think she would like to speak with you one more time.
Thank you for letting me speak, not once but twice. My name is Charlotte Drugan, and I am the lay community minister for the Universalist Unitarian Church of Joliet. I am also a teacher, and I teach in a bilingual school, and I live in a bilingual neighborhood. The church's address is 3401 West Jefferson. I live at 164 Seabury Road in Bolingbrook. When we hear the words detention center, deportation, hardened criminals, we usually picture a male who's probably a troublemaker. I would like you to think about the losses that are suffered between mothers and their daughters. When I was here a couple weeks ago, I shared a story about a former student of mine. I have another story about another young woman who lives in my neighborhood. Her name is Carla. She is a brand new mom. She has a 3-month-old baby girl named Valerie. Carla has not seen her mother since she was in 7th grade. When Carla was in 7th grade, her mother, her uncle, and 2 friends drove to another relative's house to pick up a sister and bring her back with them to their house. There was a traffic stop, and it was discovered that all 5 people were undocumented immigrants and did not have driver's licenses. They were immediately arrested, and all 5 of them were deported back to Mexico. Carla has not seen her mother since then. She was in 7th grade. Carla is also an undocumented person, so she cannot even go to Mexico and visit her mother like Mary's been able to do. So Carla has missed all of the life-changing events that go on between a mother and a daughter. Her first period, her first boyfriend, falling in love, graduating from 8th grade high school, and now the arrival of her child, which is her mother's first grandchild. Carla's mother will not be allowed to come back here for at least minimum 10 years, which means that as a grandmother, she will never see her grandbaby as a grandbaby. Carla will never be able to share the experience of new motherhood. Carla and her mother are the people that will be in our detention center if you agree to build that in Joliet.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, at the risk of sounding like the proverbial broken record, I need to reiterate that there is no project before the city of Joliet for the construction of a detention center. No papers have been filed yet. I don't know if they will be filed. The decision is controlled by the federal government. The federal government has a process that is calling for proposals or submittals, what they call an RFI, request for information. They're looking at areas throughout the Chicago area, anywhere within about 60-mile radius of downtown Chicago. Joliet has, the city of Joliet will not be applying for any of, for a detention center. It's not something the city does, and I know that there's been quite a bit of discussion regarding a proposed detention center, but as I've told people on countless occasions, it's purely a hypothetical discussion at this point. It's an academic exercise. If by some chance the ICE, the federal agency that makes decisions regarding detention centers, deems the Joliet area to be suitable for such a facility, then there'd be a public hearing process. Everyone would be given a chance to voice their opinion, and we'd be able to deal with facts as far as who would be in the facility and what it would look like and where it might go. So I just wanted to reiterate that because there seems to be a lot of confusion, a lot of energy, a lot of time being invested in a project that hasn't even materialized yet. The second thing I'd like to say, and I'm probably speaking on behalf of Chief Crafton right now, the City of Joliet Police Department does not stop people, ask for papers, and look for people who are undocumented. We will enforce the law as we always have, whether it's a traffic stop or something more serious, but we do not go out, we, the police department, will not go out and look for undocumented aliens with the intent of trying to put them in the process for deportation. Even in those cases where traffic stops are made and someone may not have a driver's license, City of Joliet Police Department does not start the inquisition to determine whether a person is here legally or not. Our police officers issue tickets when there's a violation of motor vehicle laws, or if it's something worse, we deal with it as we normally would, whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony. But we have heard a lot about people being put in the deportation process for basically being law-abiding citizens. If that's happening, it's certainly not within the city limits of the city of Joliet.
Thank you. Thank you. There is a need for executive session, I understand? Or no?
Don't think so.
No?
I think we're okay. We may need one tomorrow night, but we're not sure yet.
Okay, all right.
So that concludes what we have, unless the mayor or council have any questions. or
Councilwoman?
comments.
I just have a quick question, and I asked you about this the other day, Tom. Since there's so much confusion about the electrical aggregate, were we able to get an extension for the 15th?
Yeah, not yet. This is for the electric aggregation program. All Joliet residents who are ComEd customers should have received a letter right around between Christmas and New Year's, giving them the option to opt in to get a rate of 5.28 cents per kilowatt. The deadline for doing so is tomorrow, January 15th. I did it this morning on my house account, and it took me less than a minute to actually get it done. I just go to First Energy Solutions website, or you can call the phone number, or you can mail the response back in, as long as it's postmarked by tomorrow. We are working on an extension, but I know that First Energy Solutions will make other programs available to City of Joliet residents, but it may not be at the favorable rate that we currently have, the 5.28 per kilowatt, and it may not be the locked-in rate for the 2-year period. So that's why we've encouraged everybody to either get to a computer and get on, or else make the phone call, and all you need is your ComEd 10-digit account number, and you'll be able to get through the process very quickly. It's less than a minute if you do it online. It's a couple minutes if you do it by phone. We'll report back if we're able to get an extension on the 15th.
Well, the reason I bring it up, I received several phone calls from people that were kind of confused because they knew there was a lot of fraud out there in different companies, and we had told them that it was going to be on their water bill, but unfortunately we didn't get the number or the date set to get it on the water bill in time. So letters that came out had like a funny-looking green with the city logo, and they thought those were fraudulent letters. But they were from First Solutions, and I told them that was the official letter, but it's good to know that so many people are out there looking for frauds now. But that was the official letter. It did not go on the water bill, so if you have not signed up, please do so, because you're going to save yourself a lot of money.
Mayor?
Just 1 second, just be clear, it's for your electricity. It was supposed to go, and the notice was supposed to go on the water
Right,
bill,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, you're
Yeah.
correct. The notice is supposed to go on the water bill.
Right.
Sorry, you're right.
All right. Yes.
I was just going to say, actually, and I got an interesting call this afternoon before I came here. I myself switched about a week ago, and Tom Thanis is correct. It's quick, it's easy, a little too late. ComEd had a automated call out of Detroit today, saying you may qualify for lower rates after I've switched. And I think that was based on the fact that I switched. I understand Councilwoman Quillman. I did hesitate for a second before I signed up because I was thinking a letterhead. We kept saying letterhead, and it's actually just the seal on 2 portions of the letter, and 2 different areas of the letter, because there was 2 pieces in that mail. If there's any questions, they can call just to reconfirm. But certainly, and I wanted to clarify one other thing. When I switched, it's 5.28 if you do it online, and 5.48 if you do it by mail. Am I correct?
Yes.
So just to clarify, which are both tremendous savings compared to what I'm paying now. And my wife's very excited about the fact that she's got more money to spend.
Anyone else? See you tomorrow night.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.